Tonight, the worst bushfire emergency in a decade. Hundreds of homes feared lost as 90 fires burn across the state.
We're obviously very concerned about life, and we're very concerned about people's homes, and if we come out of this day without losing hundreds of homes, we'll be very lucky.
Knock that down and we get these ones.
Schools evacuated and residents flee as streets go up in flames in the Blue Mountains. Health warnings, asthmatics warned to stay indoors as a blanket of smoke descends on the city. Good evening, Juanita Phillips with ABC News. The Rural Fire Service is calling it the most serious bushfire emergency in years. Hundreds of houses are feared lost and many others remain under threat. As we go to air, up to 90 fires are burning across the state. Emergency warnings are in place for blazes to the north, south and west of Sydney. At Port Stephens, Muswellbrook and Wyong on the Central Coast. In the Southern Highlands at Bargo, Balmoral and Yandera. But the biggest threat is in the Blue Mountains near Lithgow at Mount Victoria, and in the Springwood area where dozens of homes have already been destroyed. Reporter Ben Worsley joins us now live from Springwood. Ben?
Juanita, Springwood is a town on tenterhooks tonight, but more than that, it is in complete shock. This emergency happened so quickly, this fire was so ferocious, and these winds remain so strong that it is no surprise that so many houses have gone up. Now, the light might be fading here, but the sense of crisis most certainly isn't. As we go to air tonight, there are dozens, perhaps hundreds of people who do not know where their loved ones are and if they are safe and well. From mountain retreat to bushfire nightmare.
Knock that down and we get these ones.
A horror day that even the most seasoned firefighters struggled to keep up with. For some, the greatest trauma was not knowing whether their loved ones were safe. Hundreds of children were trapped at their schools.
I rang the preschool at 2:30 and they said, look, my son was fine, he could stay there with them, they'll look after him, but I haven't had any contact since.
We're obviously very concerned about life, and we're very concerned about people's homes, and if we come out of this day without losing hundreds of homes, we'll be very lucky.
That miracle hasn't happened for at least 40 families, and it could be many more.
That house is completely gone. I could hear it in the background, the gas bottles popping and all the steel melting.
The terrifying speed of this fire shocked residents who are all too familiar with bushfires.
I was in the house and it came through pretty quick, mate.
It's the third one we've been through. This is the worst one of the three.
And despite injuries, the priority was to help neighbours.
I've got to go, mate. I'll give some other people a hand.
This fast-moving fire has now jumped the Nepean River and is bearing down on Penrith.
Ben, it's been a terrible day. What's happening there right now?
Juanita, this remains a massive operation and this fire still burns ferociously and it is expected to do so into the night. Reinforcements, huge reinforcements, only started arriving in the last couple of hours, and there are still fire trucks, dozens of police cars and ambulances driving down this road just over here into this cordoned off area where the firefighting is taking place. And this road is also packed with people trying to drive in to find out if their homes are safe and if their loved ones are safe. We just spoke to a lady whose parents, who are both in their 80s, are in there somewhere. She simply doesn't know if they are safe. She left in tears, saying she simply cannot stay and watch. So for the authorities, it's a very long night ahead, and for the people of Springwood, a very uncertain one.
Ben Worsley with the latest there from Springwood, and we'll go back to Ben for an update a little later in the bulletin. Well, the Blue Mountains may have some of the worst, but they're not the only fires concerning authorities tonight. From Newcastle to Wollongong and the Southern Highlands, fires are still threatening homes, forcing road closures and blanketing large parts of the state in a thick cloud of smoke. Rebecca Barrett reports.
The warnings were there and the worst has happened. At Balmoral Village in the Southern Highlands, ferocious fire and fierce winds left locals hoping for the best.
We've just come home, not sure if the house is still standing. We haven't had any information from the fire brigade yet, but we're hoping the house is still there.
As flames raced towards properties at nearby Yandera, residents ran out of harm's way, leaving firefighters in control. There are reports that homes have been lost in the area. The blaze closed the Hume Highway in both directions, leaving trucks and cars stranded.
Yeah, we're doing a job up at south heading back towards north, and now the fire's just stopped us.
In the central west at Lithgow, fire licked back gates as crews tried desperately to hose it away. Houses were blanketed by a thick orange haze. Barrels burned and the flames leapt across the Bells line of road and into the state forest and an army range. At Heatherbrainy, Port Stephens on the mid-north coast, gusty winds and intense heat whipped up a fire that's been burning for days. Schools and homes were threatened and evacuation centres have been set up for those left stranded. Newcastle Airport is shut, with smoke stretching across the city. The same in Sydney too, where transport has been disrupted and a plume of smoke and ash gave the sun an eerie glow. The hot, gusty conditions will soon turn into a cool change, but that could bring a new set of problems for firefighters. Rebecca Barrett, ABC News.
The Premier, Barry O'Farrell, is at the Rural Fire Service headquarters tonight. Here's what he had to say a short time ago.
Well, today's been a difficult, damaging and disastrous in parts day with fighting fires across the state. We've got more than 2,000, or we've got multiple thousands of people out there fighting these fires. We've got volunteers coming in from around the state to deploy resources to tackle these issues. We are unclear yet as to how many properties have been lost, but it's suspected that by the time we finish counting, it'll at least be in the hundreds. The fact is that today's conditions, both the hot, dry conditions but also the wind conditions, have contributed to the difficulties faced by firefighters and communities on the ground.
We're joined now by the Rural Fire Service Commissioner Shane Fitzsimmons. Commissioner, so many fires on so many fronts. What are your main concerns tonight?
The main concerns tonight, Juanita, right across our fire grounds, and you're right, there's just under 100 fires across New South Wales. Just under 40 of those remain uncontained. We have 5 fires at the emergency warning alert status, and we have concerns, and our focus is on saving life and protecting as much property as we can as the coming hours roll on, as this frontal activity moves right across all the fire grounds.
You've only got so many firefighters. As well prepared as you might be for this worst case scenario, is it stretching the fire service beyond its limits?
Oh, look, we're certainly not beyond our limits, Juanita. We're very stretched. We've got firefighting resources right across these fire grounds. Literally thousands of men and women have been deployed across the fire grounds. We're bringing in to bolster numbers throughout the evening, as we have done all afternoon. Crews from right across southern areas of New South Wales, South Coast, Riverina, Central West, our colleagues from the ACT, they've all come in to help, as is routinely the case. What we are mindful of is that many of these fires will not just take days to contain, they'll take weeks to contain, and we're already in discussion with some of our interstate colleagues to look at what might be needed to bolster some of our specialist roles and indeed provide some relief to assist in the containment arrangements or the containment strategies and firefighting that's got to go on over the coming days and weeks.
There's been some talk of a change in the weather coming through. Is that what you're expecting tonight?
Yeah, that change is running through right now, Juanita. It is bringing a turnaround in the winds to a more southwesterly direction. The wind strengths are still going to be very strong, 50, 60, 70 kilometres or more in strength. That's what's presenting the immediate concern, because all those fires today that have developed very long flanks, some of these fires have spread more than 25 kilometres in an easterly direction under these nor'westerlies and westerly influences. Those flanks will now become new fire fronts and head in a northerly direction or nor'easterly direction, depending on the wind strength and direction. That's resulting in a number of additional alerts being issued to communities that may come in the path of these fires. But as we look further ahead, Juanita, we will see some reprieve over the next couple of days, but the indications are already for a return to hot, dry, windy conditions as we move into the end of the weekend, probably around Sunday or Monday, a return to more difficult weather conditions.
Commissioner Shane Fitzsimmons from the Rural Fire Service, thanks so much for your time tonight.
You're welcome.